you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raw Knuckles. Hosted by Chris Nilan.
Nilan going ballistic. I love it. He's going to hit his own players. He's a madman. He's a a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Bring them all out, Nilan, you freak.
It's gonna be sick.
God, I would love to meet that guy one day. I never got a chance to meet him. And he thinks I'm a freak. And actually, I touched the wires together on that evening when I was coaching in East Coast Hockey League. Anyway, welcome to the Raw Knuckles podcast today. And have a special guest. I haven't seen him or talked to him in quite a while. And be good to catch up. And we will catch up today. And we will dissect what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens from top to bottom. And I want to welcome him into the show now. Pierre McGuire, how are you, buddy?
I'm excellent, Chris. I was so happy to get your call yesterday. I'm thrilled to death to be on with you today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Listen, we haven't talked in a while, and certainly I value your opinions on what's going on in the NHL, what's going on with the Habs. I know you follow the game very closely. Let's address the elephant in the room, which would be Jakub Dobes. I think that's the correct saying, Dobes. I heard Dan Robertson say it the first time yesterday, and I'm like, Dobes, isn't it Dobes? But Dan never misses the mark when it comes to saying people's names. Now, listen, we look at Caden Primo. He come in. He left Northeastern early. A lot of promise in this kid when he left Northeastern. He came here, spent some time down in Laval. Did not too bad. But when he get up to this level, the NHL level, to a team that it's okay if you're rebuilding a team, but when you're a young goalie coming into that situation and have not proven yourself at that level, it's extremely difficult.
Oh, my gosh, you hit the nail on the head. I remember when I was coaching in Hartford, Chris, we brought Sean Burke to Hartford in a big deal that involved Bobby Holik. We got Sean Burke and Eric Weinrich for Bobby Holik. Brian Burke did that deal. And the first thing I noticed right away, and Sean was really good for us, but the first thing I noticed right away, he wasn't playing for Jacques Lemaire and the New Jersey Devils. He was playing for the Hartford Whalers that had a way different roster, and we were going into a major rebuild. So you're talking about an apple and orange situation. That's where I think young Primo got caught up a little bit in the, let's just say, the rebuilding methods of the Canadians under Marc Bergevin, and then obviously the new group that's come in there with Kent and with Jeff Gordon. But I feel terribly for the young man. He needs a reset, Chris. I think you know it, I know it, and I think he knows it. He knows he needs to reset.
Yeah, you know, I get that. And I've watched him since he come up here, having been an alumnus, and he's also wearing that number behind us, number 30. Yep. And, you know, listen, I know this team had holes defensively big time. A lot of young defensemen, the way they played in their own end of the rink, they gave up a lot of great scoring opportunities. That being said, watching him all the time, he had a tendency to lose his net. Mm-hmm. He got turned. There were times he got turned around and he was looking at the goal judge. I mean, NHL, you can't do that. And he just seemed lost at times, and he'd shrink and wouldn't stay big, and you know, things I picked up over the years from goaltenders, listening to coaches, watching guys play. He just seemed like he could never gather himself, and I don't know. For me, looking at him moving forward, I know he needs a reset, but do you think he has the capabilities of even being a backup in the NHL?
I think what helps him a lot, he had a father that played in the NHL. And I think when you have a father, and the father got moved around a little bit, and part of that was because of his health. But, you know, Keith Primo was a good player when he came out of junior, and he was a good player when he was in Detroit. And so he understands there's give and, as you know, Chris, we all do. Anybody that's made a living in the league, there's give and take that has to happen. Not every day you're going to be on the top of the mountain. Some days you're going to be down in the valley. And I think he's got the ability to bounce back. Do I think he can be a starter in the league? I don't. Not at this point. I don't think he could be. If you would ask me that question 2 years ago, I'd have said, yeah, there's a good chance. But right now, I don't think he can be. But I do think he can be a serviceable organizational goalie. And those guys are hard to find, especially if he can make himself and stay cap friendly. that's another part of this that people don't talk enough about. The business part of it, the cap-friendly part of it matters. And if he can make himself cap-friendly and make himself back into a good second-tier goaltender at the NHL level, that'd be good for him, I think.
So, okay, there's an onus on the player. There's onus on coaching staff. There's onus on management. Do you think he was handled properly here?
I don't, because I think he got caught up in the changeover, what was going on under one regime, and then the new regime came in. So I think he got kind of caught in the middle. You were around one of the best goalie coaches of all time. You were, in Jacques Caron. Jacques Caron was right? I think you would agree with that. I mean, there was. And, whether everybody talks about Marty Brodeur, but people forget about Chris Terreri, and people forget about Mike Dunham, and people forget about even before that with Kirk McLean and Craig Billington. Like, there were a lot of goalies coming out of Jersey, and you know that, Chris. And a lot of it had to do with Coach Caron, the way he carried himself. And for whatever reason, I just don't know if this guy was handled the proper way. Doesn't give him an excuse. You still got to compete. But I like something you said before that I think is really important. If you're a young goalie listening to this, if you're a big guy, don't look small in net. Yeah. And I think he looks small in goal. And you know what? Kind of the same thing happened to a guy that's an elite, just got in the Hockey Hall of Fame. If you look at Henrik Lundqvist at the end of his career because of injury, he looked small in net. And I'm not saying Primo's going to be Henrik Lundqvist.
No.
What you said before was really good. I really appreciated that.
Well, it's funny. I heard that from Francois Allaire all the time. With Patrik, he did. He talked to him a lot about, even when he went down, about not shrinking and staying big, keeping your glove up, keeping it being as big as you can. Let the puck hit you, play the angles, all those. Yeah. You pick them up over the years. And again, by no means am I a goalie aficionado. I was always like, just stop the puck, please. That's it. So Jakub Dobes comes in, Dobes, and watching that game, he had the benefit also of having a team in front of him that played, my estimation, the best game they played all year. And I've watched them. It's pretty close to the best game they played all year, all around. They didn't give up a lot of high danger chances. He seemed to me like he controlled the puck, his rebounds. He didn't spit them out in front. He just really, a couple posts and stuff like that. But, God, he just looked like a seasoned veteran. His first game was crazy.
He really read the play well, I thought. I thought he really dissected the play well. He made himself look big, as you were saying, as Francois Allaire used to like to say. But to me, the one thing that I was impressed with, his rebound control. He made it an easier game for his defense to play, too. He wasn't spitting out pucks. When they hit him, they stayed on him. He was like a little bit like Velcro. But I love the way he read. I love the way he dissected things. I love the way he made tough saves look easy. And you're right. The team played really well in front of him. They played really well.
Yeah, they did. And for a team who has struggled defensively the last 5 games or so, they've been a whole lot better. They have their work cut out moving forward in Tampa today, Vegas, Chicago, and then Colorado. This is a big test for this team. They got 33 points. They're like 5 points out of a spot, a wild card spot. I don't see it happening. They had that little, certainly not little dip, kind of a big dip at the beginning here, going backwards. There was a lot of talk, geez, what's going on here? And this fan base, and I said it before, they've been extremely patient with this. And I think they were expecting more this season at the beginning, the way certainly Slafkovsky finished last year, that line. Everybody was looking the up and up, new players coming in and in line A, and it just, Reinback on, and then Reinback gets hurt, and people just seemed like they were kind of losing their patience. And now it seems this last little bit that this team might be making a move, but I still don't believe that they won't be in the playoffs till maybe the third season from this season, next season, the following season, 3 years from now.
Well, I think they can be in there next season. I don't think this year is going to work out. I think what they said as an organization to start, and you've been part of those golf tournaments before, where they said, hey, we just want to play meaningful games into March. And I think that is important. I also want Laval to do well. I wasn't happy with the fact that Laval got swept twice this weekend by Syracuse in Laval. You know, they got. And look, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on there because Dobes, as you talked about, gets called up. He wins an NHL start, so he wasn't playing. But still, they lost those games. They got to be better than that. And I was looking at the box scores today, and, you know, there were some guys there that did not have good weekends for whatever the reason for Laval. But I think they want that team to play a lot of meaningful games into the playoffs. And I think they want the Canadiens team to play meaningful games into the middle or the end of March. But I do think it's realistic for them. If you look at how some of the teams, Chris, are trending in the East right now, some of them are trending down. If they don't have big summers in terms of free agency or whatever, they could drop down and Montreal could really rise. That's why I think it's realistic for them to potentially be a playoff team next year.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen, but that being said, I respect your opinion. I look at this team, and I said it quite a few times, and I'm not saying these players are not men, but they need some men that Sam Bennett type men, Tkachuk type men, guys that play that type of game. And when do we see this happen? Like, because you gotta grab these players. You're not gonna. You got some in the organization now, and Tuck, right? He's kind of that fourth line slug type player. Arber's brother, I hope, progresses, stuff like that. And that's great, growing them from within the organization. But you're going to have to go and get some experienced guys. Losing Sean Monahan was big here, and you couldn't keep him. I get it. But that's a guy, experience you need around. When do they stop making those moves? Like when they feel they're on the precipice of making the playoffs?
I think this summer is going to be a huge summer for the Montreal Canadiens. You know, I don't know if you've heard, but I've said this many times, and I'm not saying this because I'm on your podcast right now, but I've said it before. I would love to see Chris Nilan teach Arber Xhekaj how to do his role. Now it's different because you were a forward, he's a defenseman. Yeah. But you understood how to do your role unbelievably well, and you were very effective and very important for whatever team you played on. Whether it was Montreal, whether it was New York Rangers, whether it was Boston Bruins, didn't matter. You were really good at it. And I've said that before. I saw Arber step up yesterday. Now, you know, is it a big thing fighting A.J. Greer? No, but he still did it, and I think he did it at the right time. So I think he's learning, Chris, but they need more guys like him. You can't just, and you know this because I think there were teams you were on where you had to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it by yourself. You know that. So to your point, I do think they need somebody like that. At least one, if not two more guys that have a little bit of physical thought. Josh Anderson, I think he surprised a lot of people with how well he
this year.
Play. I think he did. I think he surprised a lot of people.
You know, it's funny. We watched him at the beginning of the year, and the team wasn't doing well, and watching a lot of scrums happen. And here's a guy who's been around a bit. He's a vet, and these scrums would happen. He'd be the last guy in, or he'd be on the outside a little bit. And I know Tony and I talked to him. He said, when's the last time you saw Josh Anderson be the first guy in the scrum? And then next thing we know, he goes and he gives it to
Tommy Wilson.
Yeah. And then he give it to Trouba in New York. I'm like, where's this been? And I think he needed to get back to that because he got away from that part of his game. I think he got in his head a little bit last year, his snake bit, all that. And again, a veteran in a situation like they're in, this rebuild, it's difficult. You know, can you imagine Carey Price being here now? Say he was healthy.
No.
Between
the years, it'd be hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
You know, you were there. You were on the wrong side of it. But when I was in Pittsburgh coaching, you were playing in Boston near the end. We brought Bryan Trottier in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't know how that was going to work. This is to your point.
Yeah.
Bryan made a massive difference for our team. You know, he wasn't playing as a first-line center. That was Mary. He wasn't playing as a second-line center. That was Ronnie Francis. He was playing as a third-line center, one spot ahead of Randy Gillen. But you know what? Bryan Trottier taught everybody in that organization how to be a competitor.
Yeah.
Your point is spot on, and I think they need to look at that going forward.
Well, hopefully they do, and we see them progress because, boy, they've done a lot of good things here. Hughes and Gorton together. I think they're just a great team. I love Jeff Gorton and Ken Hughes, good guys. And you know, Summer, geez, when I look at the previous regime, you said, in Bergevin, and we looked at Laval, I mean, it was a joke down at Laval. They never won games. They weren't a competitive team, none of that. And now Pascal Vincent in place, a veteran coach who, you know, he gets it, and seems like he's developing those young kids down there. Yeah. The number of draft picks they have coming up it's unbelievable. Like when you talk about, and again, you can question who they pick, but in rebuilding, the amount of picks they've accumulated, and yeah, you got to pick the right players and all that, and you're not going to bat 1,000. But boy, they've done a hell of a job as far as stockpiling. No?
Oh, absolutely.
Like
You're
crazy.
Spot on. So defensive side of the puck for sure. Forwards now are getting deeper and deeper all the time. This Michael Hayes, I don't know how much you've watched or had a chance to watch University of Michigan. He's a legit A-level prospect. He's extremely talented. Demidov, I think everybody knows, is going to be a lights-out offensive player. That's really exciting. They've got other guys. Sam Harris at University of Denver. He's a tremendous goal scorer. And you can go down the line. Look at Owen Beck down in Laval right now. You talked about Xhekaj, and you talked about two guys that I think fit the profile. Joshua Roy. You know, Chris, you're spot on. And I think Logan Mailloux not getting nearly enough acclaim. I had an American Hockey League coach call me, a very good friend of mine, and said, "Can you get this guy out of the league? He's too good. He shouldn't be here." And there's little parts of the game that need to be refined. I would agree with everybody that says that, especially defending from the hash marks in his own zone down to the icing line. He's a little loose there because he's always trying to make high-risk plays. Once he learns that, I think he's going to be lights out great for Montreal, on the right side in particular, which is an important part for them going forward.
Yeah, when we look at, and again, Jakub Dobes coming in and doing what he's done, and there's a lot of hype about this goaltender from Boston College.
Jacob Fowler.
Yeah. And listen, here we are, another guy from Hockey East. And we just went through the primo phase of it, and now we're looking at Jacob Fowler coming in. And great, college hockey's it's awesome, right? But there's a big difference when you go from college to the NHL. And some guys stop in the American League and make their way up. Jacob Fowler, real deal, or do you think the fans are going to be on their heels about this one when you look at what happened with Primo?
I'm really comfortable saying real deal. Watched him a long time. World Junior experience, Boston College, high scrutinized experience. Go watch him play some of the tapes of some of his games last year. Watch some of the development from last year to this year and see where he is. He's calm. He's cool. He gets intense when he has to. You saw him get kicked out of a game. He got mad at a player from University of Connecticut. He slugged, got kicked out of the next game. So he does have that. The one thing he's going to have to work on, Chris, because, again, you watch him a lot, so you see strengths and weaknesses. He can get beat up high because he's so athletic. He doesn't respect the shooters enough. I think that's just a subtle little adjustment that'll have to happen to him. But outside of that, I think he's the real deal. I think he's probably the best goalie prospect outside the NHL.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this goes and when he comes. He's probably not going to play all 4 years there. No,
I think he'll come out after this year. I'd be really surprised. I was surprised. Boston College, Greg Brown, as you know, they kept a lot of their guys. Will Smith left, but I thought that Ryan Leonard would leave, the captain of Team USA. I thought that Perreault would leave. He's been phenomenal for them. I thought that Fowler, there was a chance he might leave, but obviously he didn't. I can't see any of those guys being there after this year, those three in particular.
All right, Pierre, looking at what's going on here with the Habs and the line makeup, all that stuff, the way they play the game. Suzuki, Caufield, point-of-game players this year. Since Laine's come, it seems like Cole got not pushed aside, but he's not over there in that spot. The other guy's there, and I get it why, right? But boy, how do you think this plays out moving forward here? How are they going to share that? Who gets the puck?
You know what's interesting? I have a theory on this because we went through this when I was in Pittsburgh. You know, we had so much artillery, as you know, with Kevin Stevens and Mark Recchi and Joey Mullen and Barry Lemieux and Ronnie Francis, Paul Caufield, Larry Murray. Like, I can go down the line.
Yeah, I just think of that lineup. If you guys didn't win the Stanley Cup,
we would have been bad coaches.
Come on. Right?
I know. Don't forget there was a guy named Yager, too.
Yeah, yeah. Forgot about him. Still playing, by the way.
Oh, I know, it's unbelievable. But, Chris, I think one of the things they can look at is keep Patrik Laine where he likes to be in that Ovechkin on the left side, the right-hand shot on the left side. You know, one of the things I would experiment with is putting Cole in the bumper position. Cole's a real good passer.
Yeah.
Cole's a real good shooter, and he's a right-hand shot. So you can run everything with Lane Hudson being so creative up high. You can run a lot of games from up high with them, and with Suzuki playing on the left side. You could run a 1-3-1 power play with Caufield in the middle and the bumper, and I think he could cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, and I'm not so much careful with it, but if Laine keeps doing the same things he's doing on the power play, and I get that, and he 5-on-5, not the most effective player, 5-on-5, but say he puts those numbers up these 2 years. He's not going to be here probably, right? Do you see him being here after these 2 years? Because he's going to have an opportunity to sign a big deal if he puts numbers up.
Yeah.
And I don't think they can afford to keep him here, no?
Well, I don't know that part of it, Chris, because I think they're going to try to get talks going at some point, I would imagine. You can't start yet, but I'm sure they're subtly talking behind the scenes. Depends how much he likes it. You know, one thing that I think has been really impressive, and you can speak to this probably as well or better than anybody. As a kid that grew up in Montreal, you were a man that actually grew up in Montreal. There's a difference. You know what I mean? You were a player that, as a fan, then I moved away, but you were still playing. My point is that I don't think he's ever experienced what he's experienced in Montreal in his life.
Yeah.
And I think that matters. I think at some point in a guy's career, it matters where they are. It matters how people treat them. Look at you. You've chosen to come back and live in Montreal.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that. There's a reason why you did it. You love it there. People love you and you love them. So it's a good – and I think that guy's kind of on that track.
Yeah.
I do. So I don't think it's all about money with him. I don't.
Right.
Doesn't mean he's going to stay, but I think there's more to the decision than just money for him.
All right. Certainly one of my favorite subjects is Arber Xhekaj, but I won't talk about Arber this week. I love that kid. I absolutely.
Well, so do I. And that's why
I love him.
Listen, I'm not afraid to say it.
I say it every week.
I had the same look. I had a coach when you were playing, and you think you were a popular guy to talk about in our dressing room? No.
Yeah.
But I did because we respected you because of the way you played. I think there was almost every team in the league would have liked to have had Chris Nilan on their team.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where Arber needs to get to. That's why I say if they could ever utilize you as a tool, I know they brought Mark Bureau in to teach faceoffs, and Mark's good at that. Like I totally respect Mark for what he's done with his career as a faceoff guy. I would bring Chris Nilan in to teach Arber Xhekaj how to do his role. I would be very comfortable doing that.
Yeah. I worried about him, and now listen, I get it. You come in, the new sheriff in town, everybody's talking about Arber, and when I saw what they were doing with him, and they sent him down, and I'm like, what is this all about? And I don't know. It can be intoxicating, right? You're there, and everybody's oohing and ahhing over you. It's almost like from the outside looking in, that they were kind of putting him in his place, trying to keep him right-sized, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then he sits out the beginning of the season. Yeah, I mean, what are they doing? I thought they were messing with him a little too much, and it was going to affect what he did. Like when I watched him fight Greer last night, he was a little hesitant. Then he threw the first punch, and then he kind of let up and said, I got to let the kid get his gloves off. He had him off, but the kid hadn't thrown a punch yet, and he kind of let up. He looked a little hesitant to me. And
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
that's why I'm bringing it up.
you can't be.
That's
You
got
can't
to
be, but I
feel-
think they got in his head a little bit, like almost too much, and to try and like tone him down a little. And boy, I think that can affect a guy like that. And I just, you can't let him run roughshod. I get it, but I think it kind of had a negative effect on him here in the early going. But
See, that's great advice.
Yeah.
That's such a good piece of intel that you could provide. And I never rehearsed this with you. I just want people to understand, and you can speak to it much better than I. But that job's hard, Chris. It's not easy. And I had a lot of guys that I really respect that did it for me, and I used to train with them. One of them was Jay Caufield, who I know you know very well. You know, I remember in a dark Joe Louis arena sitting there and sparring with Jay, who was 6'4". I'm 5'11", you know, and you wake up the next day, you have sore shoulders because you beat up on all the time. And you know what I'm talking about. And but that's a tough job. And you got to know how to do it. It's not like you go to hockey school to learn that.
no, you don't. And it's fun though. I have fun. Listen, last year, and we talked about him. And listen, Nick, Cole, Slavkovsky coming in, and you know, I think people forget he's still a young boy. They saw what he did last year. Yep. You know, 50 points, great ending this season. And when I watch him, a lot of times he spreads his legs and he got one hand on his stick. And I'm like, what the hell? And if that kid does not move his feet, and listen, big guys, look at Josh Anderson last year. He didn't kill penalties. So there were times he sat, and big guys, sometimes you get out of that rhythm, and it's, you know, yeah, you got to get back in the game, but it's not the same. Here's Josh Anderson, regular shift, killing penalties. He got that sweat going. He's in the game. He's on his toes. It's not that way for Uri, but boy, when he does not move his feet, he looks just like.
I talked about this with Mitch Melnick, our good.
And I love this kid. Don't get me wrong.
So do I. Look, I saw.
How can't you?
Olympics in Beijing. I saw him play in Turku his draft year. I spent a lot of time over there in Finland. I was working in Ottawa then. I saw Marty Lapointe at the rink all the time, you know, scouting him. He's a really talented kid. But what you just said, if there's a characteristic he needs to fix, that wide base and not moving his feet. Because then he starts swinging his stick with one hand on it, and he's not a strong player.
Yeah.
He's got to get strong again because he's so big and strong. Move your feet, kid.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Now, the other guy who I absolutely was like brokenhearted over is poor Kirby Dach. Now, listen, people, boy, God, people get ruthless and they get nasty, and you hear it. I don't care what anybody says. I don't read this. I don't read that. They hear it. They know. And here's a kid coming off that big injury. And I just, you could tell, he even said in articles, he felt like he was in his head some. And I remember I had my first big injury in like my 8th season. I tore ligaments in my knee. And I came back and I had a brace on. And I wore a brace first 3 games I came back. And I absolutely sucked. I was scared. Because I said, I know what I went through to get to that point, to get back on the ice. And I'm like, am I healthy enough? Is this brace going to be okay? I was thinking, I wasn't skating. I wasn't on top. I wasn't getting physical. I was worried about getting hurt again. And finally, I took the brace off and threw it in the trash. Thank you, Gino Beretta.
Good golfer and a good squash player.
Right. And I just said to myself, listen, I got to go play. If I get hurt, I'm going to get hurt. But, oh, well, I got to go play my game. And it changed for me. But, boy, to watch the struggles he had, you could just tell he lost all confidence. And Marty's been trying to do everything for him, which I think is great. But sometimes you need a boot in the ass. And I don't know the answer. but it's almost like he just taught him every opportunity. And he struggled. And look what happens there. And not
Two
just because he
goals.
got not just the 2 goals. I watched him. He played well. He was engaged. He was coming back in his end of the rink. He wasn't doing the glide and he was involved. And that's such a positive thing for me. Not just the goals. The goals are great because it gives him his psyche.
Yeah.
But the overall game, I thought he played really well.
I agree with you. You know what else I liked was his face, smiling.
Oh, yeah, right?
Interplay with his teammates on the bench.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. Thank you for your support. Really means a lot to me. I watched that kid break into the league in Chicago. He's playing with Patrik Kane and Jonathan Toews. I watched it. I was there broadcasting the games. You were like, wow. I used to talk with Scotty Bowen about it. I said, oh, my gosh, this guy's going to be something else because he's learning from 2 masters in Kane and Toews. And all of a sudden, things went south in Chicago. He gets hurt, hurts his wrist, not his legs. Then things don't work out well in Chicago because Toews goes away, Kane goes away, things change, rebuild starts. He's not 100%, gets moved to Montreal, then he gets hurt. It's the perfect storm for being a guy that everybody's going to put a target on his back. Well, I liked his response yesterday, and I hope it keeps up because he's a really honorable guy, and he does love hockey. He loves it. He's not trying to steal paychecks. He wants to compete.
I know I'm jumping around here a little bit. We already talked Anderson, loving that. Dach, Laine. I love this kid Heineman.
How could you not? How about that line? Yoel Armia with Jake Evans and Heineman. It was cool yesterday to see Heineman's a former Florida draft pick.
Yeah.
It's cool to see guy, and I know he got traded to Calgary and ends up in Montreal, but he plays with energy. He can shoot the puck, Chris. He like his release point is electrifying. It's really good. I could see that kid being a 20 to 25 goal scorer. You see Jake Evans and the way he plays. You see the fun they're having as a line with our mates. Those lines matter. They give a team an identity, and they're starting to get an identity with that line.
I love that line. And listen, when Yoel Armia was taking a lot of crap here, there was certainly deserved it. Okay, there were times he just looked not engaged, especially when Bergie and company were here.
Yep.
Since Marty come over, I think he's gotten this kid to pay attention. They end up sending him down, wake up. And I think that was a great wake-up call for him. I've always said, I love this player. Now, I think the expectation was he was going to be a better offensive player. When he came into the league, he'd eventually start hitting some numbers. But he does things that you need a player to do when you're in the thick of it in the playoffs, hanging on to pucks, being good in the corners and around that. He hangs on to pucks. He comes out off the wall with pucks that just he does things that most of the players honestly don't in those situations. Yeah, some of the bigger players. I love Yoel Armia. I love him as a player, provided he's engaged.
Got to be engaged. That's the whole thing. That's always been the knock on him in his career. Whether it was in Buffalo, whether it was in Winnipeg, and even in Montreal. That's been the knock. But no, there's a lot to like there. I don't think anybody expected this kind of offense from Jake Evans. I watched him play at Notre Dame for 4 years. And you know what? When you go to Notre Dame, you learn a lot about hockey because that's how Jeff Jackson coaches. He doesn't teach you a lot about offense, but when you get a player from Notre Dame, they can play defensively in the NHL. You don't always know if they can play offensively. This guy's gone to another level offensively. Like that goal yesterday.
Yeah.
Short side. That's a big,
snipe.
That's a snipe. That's a big time play, especially I'm not going to say the ice is terrible down south, but it's not always great. Bounce around a lot down there. You don't always get flat pucks, and for him to be able to do that down south, that was pretty impressive.
So, how about our boy Brendan Gallagher? Is he going to be able to be here when this thing comes to fruition?
About winning the cup, I don't think so, but to make the playoffs, I think so.
Yeah.
I love the way you said that too, because I have so much, as you do, so much.
What a warrior!
He just is what he is. Chris, I had a great night with him at the Hall of Fame when Shea Weber went in.
Yeah.
Kerry was there, Nick Suzuki was there, and Brendan was there, and we had and Paulie Byron was there too. And we just went in a corner at the hall, just a group of us, and we were just talking. And Brendan, so proud to be a member of the Montreal Canadiens, so proud to spend his career as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. To hear that was so inspiring to me, to hear how much he cares about what they're doing. And I know you feel the same way. I know you do.
Yeah, I would hate to see him ever wear another jersey. You know, I had to do it. I did not like it at all. I never wanted to leave here. So I that's one of those guys. He should never wear another jersey. I just hope he's able to stick that out. All right, let's go back end now. You know, Cade and Gooley, they bring over Carrier. You got Arber, Savard, Laine Hudson, Matheson. I hate this pairing.
Well,
I love both players in ways. Laine Hudson, that's certainly great offensively. He got that learning curve. He's a smart player defensively. He's going to get overpowered at times. He's going to make high-risk plays at times that are going to pay off, and then he's going to get burnt. We've seen it a few times already. These two together, what do you think of that pairing?
Well, I see what they're trying to do, and because they don't have a lot of right shot defensemen, obviously Matheson has to play on the offside. I wish the pairing was more reliable.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of decision making with the puck and without the puck. But the one guy that I think is so valuable, and I don't know what your take is on him, but David Savard. From penalty killing, the crease clearing. Is he perfect? No. Is he getting older? Yeah, but does he do a lot of stuff to help you in a perfect situation? Like if you had all the right guys set up the right way? I mean, let's just think about it. If you had Matheson as number 1 on the left side, Hudson is number 2 on the left side, and Xhekaj is number 3, would you be okay? You know, and then if you had the right side set up, you know, let's say you have Carrier, Logan Mailloux, and David Reinbacher. You know, let's just say you had that. And then you put Savard in as a 7 or a depth guy. I don't know. I just think the Canes are moving the right way. It's just going to take a little bit more patience on the back end.
So, Jaden Struble, where does he fall? Is he just going to have to wait his turn until someone gets hurt?
I've known him since he was a kid, and you know the school, St. Sebastian's High School. I've known him since he played there. I watched him play a ton. He was a physical, dominant force. Watched him play at your alma mater, Northeastern, same kind of deal.
Tough kid.
Fearless kid, not afraid of anything. Chris, you'd have to answer this because you know better than I. He gets in a fight in Pittsburgh, doesn't do great in the fight. I think it's against Ryan Graves, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's almost like he lost a little bit of whatever he had, and it takes time to get that back.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. God, I could tell him how to get it back, but anyway.
This is what I'm talking. This is what I get it. You don't want to overstep.
Well, I help him. I don't like.
I know you don't, because you understand the hierarchy of hockey.
Yeah.
You understand there's a chain of command. You get that, and I respect that a ton. I'm saying it. You would be so valuable for those types of players to get that back. That's not everybody has that experience.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me, hey, come run a power play, I can do that. I can do that really good. Or if you were to say, let's create a penalty, I could do that too. Or let's learn how to run a bench, I could do that too. But I could never speak with the experience you have from having gone through the battles you've gone through. I could never speak to that. No chance.
Speaking of that, in that type of player, Mike Pizzetta hasn't played this season. The writing on the wall for him, and
well,
just seems like he's never going to get that shot.
What's amazing to me, he must be an amazing teammate because the guys all like him, and he mustn't be complaining at all. Inside, he must be killing him.
It's a hard thing.
Every player wants to play, and nobody wants to do bag skates every single day after the morning skate. You know what it's like. It's not fun. I had to run a ton of those for a lot of years, and they're not a lot of fun to be part of. But unfortunately, you got to do it as part of your job. I can't see where, unless there's an injury situation, I don't know where he's going to fit in this situation.
Yeah, we will see. It's certainly going to be interesting here the rest of the way. It's a big road trip. We'll see what happens with this crew. I'm dying to see Dobes back in net, Dobes back in net again. And we won't have to wait too long for that one, I'm sure. But when we look at this organization and where they're at in this rebuild, we saw Steve Eisenman come on last week. If you look at these teams that are rebuilding, when we look at the league, 32 teams, and it seems like that bottom half, it's just there's so many teams, Buffalo, teams that have tried in that process. Where do they? I don't know. What makes it not a good rebuild? I guess other than you don't make the playoffs, but drafting players, putting guys making mistakes. So they look at Eisman, all that. Did they go and get guys, some of those veteran guys, too early, or did they think it was gonna? Yeah,
goaltending,
yeah.
I think, has been a problem for them. So they have Trey Augustine and Sebastian Cossa, two real good goaltenders in Detroit.
Yeah.
They're coming along, but they're not ready yet to carry the ball. So I think goaltending let them down. I'll give you an example. For years, we heard about Edmonton having this massive rebuild, and they were getting Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and getting Nail Yakupov, and they were getting this player, and they were getting that. They got all these guys. They didn't get anybody in the back end, and they got nobody in goal. Yeah. So, I love the people that had the theory that say, well, you don't have to have elite goaltending to win, because look at Vegas. They won.
Yeah.
And look at St. Louis. They won. Did anybody talk about their defense? Right. Those goalies won. Yeah, Binnington and Aiden Hill won, and they're still serviceable guys, and Binnington's going to be part of Team Canada at the Four Nations event. But look at the defenses they played behind. Chris, if you can't get to the net to create second and third chance opportunities, you can't beat a team. And that's what St. Louis was in 2019, and that's what Vegas was 2 years ago. That's what they were.
Well, we saw with the Habs, their defense when they went to the final against Tampa. Yeah, they ran out of gas. They couldn't get it done, all that. But, look at their defense in front of Carey Price. It was insane.
Yeah.
Those guys were, incredible.
Look at your 86 team.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah.
Look at your 86 team that won the Stanley Cup. Starting with Larry, and then just move back. Chelios. Look at all the guys they had.
Ludwig.
Yeah, they're all big people. And I know Patty, Patty wins the Conn Smythe. I get it. He deserves it. It's his big moment. But that defense in front of him.
I've said this. He deserved it. He was unbelievable, Patrik. But boy, not a lot of rebound shots. Guys cleared the puck away for him. Guys didn't get to the net. If he could see it, he was stopping it. Yeah. Right on the money. It's funny, we talked about that. I had Jacques Lemaire on, and we had talked about that, and Claude Lemieux, what a big role he played in.
Yeah.
But we had such a great defense back then. It was incredible. I had Lemaire on. I absolutely love him.
Well, he feels the same way about you.
No, I love him. We had a great, I've had him on. I had him on back at the beginning of when I started the podcast, and he was on with me for 2 hours and 45 minutes. I had to Jock, go to the beach, down in Florida. Get out of here. Enough. We can talk more. I could have kept going, but we got to stop that. I'll be here all night. And then I had him on the other day. I just love talking to him and picking his brain. And, we're talking about the game today. Maybe I said, listen, I love what Bobby Orr said, and I always bring this up. He said he'd like to see the red line back in, and if these players are so good and they're so talented today, I would love to see 5 players come up the ice together and pass their way through whatever defense is thrown at them and go play hockey. Now, I love the way Orr put it, and I talked to Jacques about it, and he was like, this is a good thing to think about. We talked about down low, playing 3-on-3 down low, and now they got 5 players down in the quadrant, the right side or the left side. And, I think I've been a little harsh at times on this team defensively down low. In the mindset that, in the things that I was taught by Lemaire, being one, Bob Gainey, Cabo, but Lemaire's system down low. But you can't do the things we did back in that day. You can't tug on a guy. You can't give him a little hook and ride him out. It was easier to defend back then. I get it. But a lot of it, too, today is positioning and staying on the strong side. And when you go at a guy, you want to lead with your stick? Some guys lead with his stick, but they forget to take the body through.
100%.
And I see it a lot. And that's the frustrating part for me. Okay, you can't do this and you can't do that, but you can do this and then finish. And I don't see that enough.
One of the coolest things when I first got into broadcasting, Jacques had just moved out to Minnesota to coach an expansion team.
Yeah.
And I watched him run a practice one day, and it was fascinating because there was only one puck on the ice, basically, and he was showing guys body position, stick position, and how to play in your own zone. And I'm sure you've experienced it from Jacques, but he was the only coach that I had seen at that time that was actually talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
And you're spot on. You couldn't be more right. It's harder to defend now than it was when you played or when I was coaching in the league, just because you're not allowed to tug on. It's harder to play in the neutral zone now because of the stretch pass. It's much harder. Jacques would have to adjust because when they were playing the 1-2-2, they used the red line as a boundary.
Yeah.
And so they could step up and just take away your space, and you were shut down. Like I think what really led to the red line coming out, Chris, and this is for the fans out there, in 2004, Tampa played Calgary in the Stanley Cup final. If you scored the first goal in the game, you won the game. There was never a lead change. In 7 games, there was never one lead change. Once you got the lead, there was never a change. And I think the league just said, we can't have that anymore. Like, it's killing our TV ratings.
Yeah.
And so that's why the red line, that was one of the reasons why the red line came out.
Yeah. Can you hang around for a couple questions, Shane?
Chris, I'm here for you. I told you that yesterday. When you called me, I said, I'll do whatever you need me to do.
Well, we got a couple questions here. Shane, what do we got, buddy? Chris Hansen. Assuming Primo can't get it together in the AHL, do they go get a goalie for the AHL team? They want a deep playoff run, Fowler at 6 the end of the year?
Yeah.
Listen, 2 o'clock today, right? We'll find out.
Well, should be 12. Should be
12. Okay, I thought it was 2. So we'll know today if he's going up.
Yeah.
Do you think, I've heard Ottawa, I've heard Philly.
Last year, I would have said if he goes on waivers, Philly's going to take him last year because of what happened with Carter Hart.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening this year in Philly. I don't. And for Ottawa, I'd be surprised because I know they really like Levi Merrilainen long term there, and I know they like Mad Sogard, and they really trust, obviously Linus Olmark when he's healthy. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I guess then, do you think he ends up in Laval?
I do. Okay. I do, and I do think he can do well there.
Yeah,
I do. Laval's a good team. I know they had a tough weekend this weekend so far, with Syracuse coming in, but I've watched them play a lot. They've played a really sound system. They've had good goaltending there. Obviously, Dobes has been part of that. But no, I don't see that being a problem. If he goes down there, I think he'll play well. Actually, I do.
Cool.
He needs to reset, and I think he knows it. I really believe it.
Okay. Shayna, next one, buddy. Alan Simad. Do both of you think that Suzuki will be number 1 going forward? I think he's a number 2. A trade will be needed. With a stockpile of draft choices, they may be able to trade for 1. I don't think they'll be able to trade for 1.
Yeah.
And do I think Nick is a 1? A point-a-game player right now? There's a fine line there. He's between 1 and 2. He's right there. Is he a 1B?
Yeah,
or
he
a
is
2A?
actually. He
is.
1B. So I agree with that. So the last time a real legitimate top-end number 1 center got traded, and everybody's like, how could they do that, was when Joe Thornton got traded by the Boston Bruins to the San Jose Sharks.
Kevin Paul DuPont ran him out of town.
So Joe Thornton gets traded by Michael Connell, and the return was Marco Sturm, was Wayne Primo, and Brad Stewart. That was the return. That was the return.
Oh my God!
So nobody's trading number 1 centers. Nobody likes to trade number 1 center. So that's a hard thing. I mean, a lot of people, and you heard this, Chris, I know you did. A lot of people speculate, Mark Scheifele, like 2 or 3 years ago, he's going to be out of Winnipeg. They're going to move him out of Winnipeg. Too much energy. He still hasn't been moved, and look at where Winnipeg is right now.
Yeah.
Do I think Suzuki's a number 1? No, I'm on the Chris Nilan team. I think he's a 1B. I think he's a 1B, but he's a good 1B.
A very good 1B. He's just such a chill. And when you think for this city, playing in this city, the pressure, and again, being captain, he has the perfect personality for it.
I agree.
When I think it's on, and I'm not going to compare. The only way I'll compare him to Gainey is he's like that.
Yeah, he's chill. Yeah,
That's the only way I'm going to compare him to Gainey. But and that's a good thing. It's a good thing when you're the leader of this organization. That way.
What I'd like to say, and I'm not trying to say the player. First of all, he's a right-hand shot, and Joe Sakic left-hand shot. There's so many similarities in how they play, Suzuki and Sakic. Joe Sakic's game went up another level when they got Peter Forsberg there.
Right.
So they were double trouble, 1A, 1B. And that caused a lot of matchup problems. I was coaching the league then. Mark Crawford was a beneficiary of having two unbelievable center icemen. When Suzuki gets a little bit more, and that's why I think Kirby Dach, this thing with Dach has to progress. And if it doesn't, then I think they need to go out and get somebody else to insulate Nick Suzuki. But no, Nick Suzuki's a really, really valuable player.
All right, Shaner. Well, we got a few more here. Mark Hodge. I will lobby hard for Arber to be Laine's partner. Arber holding the front net. Laine gets the puck. Arber. Listen. I love it too. I love that thought. Yeah, you need a stay-at-home guy with that little man, and he's so fun to watch. I mean, when you look at this team and not making the playoffs the last few years, he come in and everybody's okay. Little guy, he's supposed to be good offensively. He come in here and right away he makes chicken salad out of chicken shit. He just does. Like when you see him, he looks like it's over, and then he's so elusive.
Yeah,
like he's so fun to watch. But yeah, what do you think of that pairing?
So what I would like to see is Laine stay on the left side, not the right side.
Yeah.
Because Arber's not going to play on the right side.
Yeah, he can't.
Do it.
No.
He can't do it.
No.
But this harkens back to when you were playing at the end in Boston and I was coaching in Pittsburgh, and they had a guy in New York by the name of Brian Leach.
Yeah.
And Brian Leach really started to take off in his career when they got a guy from Edmonton named Jeff Bukaboom. And it was the big guy protecting the smaller guy. It was the big guy picking so the small guy could go get the puck and make plays. And Leach was as good as anybody that was in that era at making plays. I think they need to find a righty that can do that, to play with him. And I don't think Arber's that guy right now.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you. All right, Shayna, next one. Chris, tell us the story about you scoring 2 goals with the first stick. But it's funny. I read somewhere, like I scored 2 goals 16 times. I never got a hat trick. And Flower, I used to have a little toe curve I was trying to dangle, and I said, I want to be a dangler. So I was always messing with sticks, and I went and got Flowers because he could shoot the puck on there. But, yeah, I don't know. It was kind of an offshoot of his curve, and it was the Winnipeg game. Patrik was first game in the NHL, and I scored on a penalty shot, and then I made another crazy goal that game. But yeah, Flowers stick, Flowers patent. Thank you, Guy.
That's a great
God bless
story.
him. Yeah, God bless Guy.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. God, I used to just love, because I went in early. He was always there early, and I loved going in there early and just talking with him. We'd have coffee, he'd be taping his sticks, and just, when I think back of that time and the time I got to spend with him one-on-one, and the year before, I'm like at Northeastern going to Punter's Pub and casking flagging, and then the next year, here I am with Guy in the locker room. It's just crazy when I think of it.
You had a chance to play for one of the truly great players, though, for Boston Bruins in history, Ferdy Flaman.
Oh.
And, I know he wasn't popular in Montreal because Boston-Montreal rivalry.
And he fought Rocket,
But
right?
he fought, Fernie was, as you know, Fernie was a big, tough guy.
It's huge.
And,
like a refrigerator.
Oh, I used to be on the road recruiting with him or scouting with him when he was working for New Jersey at the end. And, oh, my gosh, he had good stories. I can't even imagine you two guys being in the same dressing room together.
Fern was so good to me. You know, and I messed up when I was at Northeast. I got a couple fights off the ice that I screwed up my hand. I got an infection in my hand, and he stuck with me. But that was all my boy, the judge. Judge King and him were pretty close. And the judge is the one who got me at Northeastern with Fernie. And I'll never forget Fernie offering me that scholarship when I was at Northwood. I was like shocked. My father was shocked. My family was shocked. And then I got drafted, and they were even more shocked. Thank you, Judge King.
And then you had Steve Reed telling you,
Reno, the best.
Reno had to be there for you.
The best. Reno was.
The polar bear from Bowdoin College.
Yeah.
Steve Reed.
Still there.
He is still there.
And you know the story about Mike Richter and what the boys did for him there, right?
I do. I'm very familiar with
that's
this.
so awesome. That is so awesome.
Well, they've had such a great legacy there at Northwood, as you know. I don't have to tell you. It's a pretty amazing place to go to.
Turning point in my life was one of those turning points right there that year. And I'll never forget it because, you know, I was 4 years at Catholic Memorial and everybody's going off to college. I was going nowhere. And I finally went in to see the guidance counselor after 4 years. And the guidance counselor was my hockey coach, Billy Hansen.
Yeah. Well, I know Billy really well.
Yeah, right. I said, Coach, I said, everybody's going off to college. I said, and I was 17-year-old senior most of my senior year. And he said, listen, do you ever think of going to prep school? And I said, what's prep school? I didn't have a clue. And he named Brewster. He named a couple. And Northwood was one. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, Northwood. So I applied Northwood. And Judge King wrote me a letter of recommendation. My dad drove me up there. And I ended up getting in. Thank God I got scholarship money. I would have never been able to go. But that was a huge turning point right there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well,
Shaner, what do we got?
Go.
We got any more? Is there one more? That's it. Brett Wyman. Should Heineman move up to top six? Would be playing against. What's the future of the organization? What's his future? Go ahead.
Bright.
Yeah.
Future's very bright, Chris. I think. And right now, I wouldn't break up that line. I really like that line. The only way I'd do anything is I'd move the center up if they wanted to, if they were doubting anybody's ability to play. But right now, the way Jake Evans is playing with Heineman and Armia, I would not mess with that line at all.
Don't touch that thing.
I wouldn't touch it. Touch it.
You kidding me? And listen, there's going to be plenty of time. There's going to be injuries at some point, and he's going to, I really like that kid. He sticks his nose in there. He got like you said, he got a great shot. Yeah. A sneaky shot, too.
Yeah, it is.
So good stuff. Pierre McGuire, thank you so much for joining me. And,
always.
Yeah, I hope we can do this again at some point during the year. And
I'll be there for you. 100% guarantee it.
Great seeing you. Thanks so
Great
much.
Seeing you, Chris. Take care. Happy
Alrighty.
New Year, my man.
Okay, you too. And yeah, so again, Pierre McGuire, we go back. It's nice to see him again. He used to be on my friend Mitch's show all the time. And it's good to catch up and chat. He knows players, studies the game. He's in Dartmouth, New Hampshire, watching a college hockey game right now, or heading there. So just eats, breathes, and sleeps the game. Yeah. So the Habs, big road trip here for them. In the midst of that road trip, we'll see what happens here today. Playing Tampa, 5 o'clock. Boy, I hope we see this team continue to play the way they played yesterday in front of their goaltenders. And we'll see. Big road trip coming up. And I want to wish everybody out there a very happy New Year. I appreciate all you checking in with Knuckles here on Sundays at 11. And make sure you keep an eye out on Wednesdays, because we have some interesting guests coming up for sure. I had none other than Louis Schlager. And then I had some big fella I used to fight a little bit in, Big Jim McKenzie, played in Hartford. Some great stories there. Jim McKenzie, the first night he played against the Boston Bruins, watching a guy he grew up Loving in me and what I said to him on the way into the building. You don't want to miss that one for sure. And also, coming up pretty soon, we're going to have former Boston Bruins goaltender, not Jerry Cheevers, Tuukka Rask. So make sure you check in Ron Knuckles Podcast. I appreciate everybody checking in with us here on Sundays and when the new episodes come out on Wednesday. So have a happy new year, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.